What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Sports Podcast. It is time for us to kick off our off-season series where we grade all 32 NFL teams' off-seasons based on their free agent additions, their losses, any improvements through trades on both sides of the ball. And then we decide, did they improve on both sides, one side or the other? How much have they improved versus how much have they got worse? And then we factor in their draft class with some of the favorite picks from their draft class, culminating in a final grade. We're going to go alphabetical order like we've done every year that we've done this. And up first, we've got the Arizona Cardinals. So I always like to talk about the coaching staffs first, especially if there's been any changes. For Arizona, as of right now, there are currently no changes from the main ones. You've got the OC, the DC, head coach, all the same guys. Now, I will say, are we going to start talking about Gannon's position on the hot seat? He's 12-22 as the head coach. And I know you can say, they haven't had much talent, yada, yada, yada. He was brought in to lead this defense because the offense has the pieces. When you have a franchise quarterback like they do in Kyler Murray, and they pay him like a franchise quarterback, you cannot waste his prime years the way that they're doing right now. And there's no other way to describe it as wasting his prime years right now. I mean, they haven't even been in the playoffs in how many years? You've got to capitalize. You've got to see something this year. I think if you're Jonathan Gannon and that coaching staff, this is the year where it's like we've got to win anywhere from 9 to 12 games somehow. We've got to put it together and have a fantastic season because our jobs are on the line. I think you've got to operate like that this year. I still like Gannon as a defensive coach. Drew Petzig as the offensive coordinator. I think he was in a lot of head coaching rumors this offseason, so clearly he knows what he's doing too. They've got the guys. They've got to figure it out this year. I really think that this coaching staff is in trouble if they have a rough season. Jumping to the offensive side of the ball, as far as offensive additions go, I don't have a whole lot for you guys. We've got favorite of the channel, Jacoby Beef Brisket Brissett. They signed him to a 2-year, $12.5 million deal just to be a vet backup. You couldn't run into the year with Clayton Tune as your backup quarterback. No offense to Clayton Tune, who I did like out of Houston. And then you also brought in Kelvin Beachum just to kind of get some reps on the offensive line. Again, nothing too big from them on the offensive side of the ball. But that's okay because on the offensive side, when you look at their losses, there's really nothing to note here. Nobody that you're like, oh, man, what are they going to do without this guy? They've still got their big pieces out there. So I'm going to say that the offense remains about the same. Maybe slightly improved by a hair just because you have a vet backup quarterback, I suppose. But no real losses, no real additions. So I think on the offensive side of the ball, you could definitely say that about the same team as last year, honestly. Defensively, now this is where we see some changes, baby. They could not get after the quarterback last year. This Arizona Cardinals team just couldn't. So what they do, they go out and they sign Josh Sweat to a 4-year, $76 million contract. I like that. It's pricey, but that's just you've got to figure out how we're gonna look. We've got to start looking at these contracts differently. Yeah, it's almost $20 million a year for Josh Sweat, but that's in this market, that's not that much money. When other guys are getting close to that and you haven't even heard their name, Dan Moore, it is what it is. The market is what the market is, man. And edge rushers get paid, and he comes from a winning culture. He was under Gannon when Gannon was the DC in Philadelphia. I like this move. You had to get somebody that can give you some juice in the pass rush game, so I like that a lot. And then bringing in Dalvin Tomlinson on a 2-year, $29 million contract, and also Calais Campbell for a 1-year, $5.5 million contract. You just fixed your run defense right there with those two big boys. Absolutely love that. And then as you talk about players they've lost, Kaiser White's the only one that really jumps out at you, and he hasn't been lost yet. They can still re-sign him. He is still available in free agency, so you can't even really chalk him up as a loss yet. So I think this side of the football is without a question improved. Last year, Zaven Collins led the Arizona Cardinals in sacks with 5. That's just not going to cut it. Sweat immediately gives them more pass rush juice. And then Tomlinson and Campbell give them a great run-stuffing defensive tackle duo in the middle of that defensive line to go along with first-round pick last year, Darius Robinson. I think the defense has a chance to take a step this year if the coaching is right and if these players develop and grow and mesh the way you want them to. And then we get into the draft here, and they just decided we're just going to continue to hammer the defensive side of the ball. They got 2 of my favorite players in this draft class, honestly, overall. Getting Walter Nolan at pick 16, I absolutely love that pick for them. And Will Johnson in the second round is ridiculous. The fact that he was still available for them in the second round, I was like, I don't think he's going to be there in the first round. I don't have the medicals, right? I don't know how bad Will Johnson's leg is, but it better be terrible for him to fall to the second round, or else a lot of teams are going to really be kicking themselves for passing on him, not once, but twice. And then I also like the addition of Cody Simon as well at the linebacker position. I thought that was a good pickup too. I like their draft. I'm not going to grade their draft. You guys know I like their draft. They were the number one draft class for me of anybody just because of the top-end talent that they got. Just absolutely aced this draft. When we look at their depth chart overall for Arizona, there's a few holes. Still, you still don't have a number 2 or number 3 wide receiver. It's just not there. Listen, I like Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch as much as the next guys. They're not true number 2 or number 3 wide receivers. Those are guys that you have at 4 and 5, not at 2 and 3. You cannot, no offense to them, again, no offense to these guys. You cannot count on them to provide huge plays for you because you're just going to be disappointed because they're just not going to do it. I'm sorry. They're just not going to do it. So I've got wide receiver 2/3 as kind of a need. And then I look at their middle linebacking crew, and this can obviously change with Kaiser White coming back. They run a 4-3. You need a good middle linebacker. Right now you're looking at Akeem Davis Gaither, and then Cody Simon's your number 2 guy. Are we sure we want to trust him to run this defense, especially in a year where you've got to win? I don't love that. I think that's a big hole right in the middle of the defense. You look at the best teams around the league, and they have great middle linebackers. They just all have awesome middle linebackers, and I don't see that here in Arizona. I think that's a pretty big hole for them as well, and I don't love strong safety Jalen Thompson having to be the starter next to Budda Baker. I'd love for Budda Baker to get a really solid running mate next to him, but that one's a little bit more nitpicky. I really think their biggest hole is wide receiver position and middle linebacker. They've got to bring someone in, some vet here at the end of free agency to make that better. So overall for the Arizona Cardinals, I am going to give them a B+ for their overall offseason grade. I like what they've done, and on paper, this team has without a doubt improved. I mean, if nothing else, they didn't lose any difference makers, and they really bolstered the defensive side of the ball, a defense that only allowed 22.3 points per game last season. I think that the players that they've added can take that defense to an even another level. The problem is going to be can Kyler Murray and Trey McBride, and then hopefully Marvin Harrison Jr., if he has a better second year than first year, can they get it done on the offensive side of the ball? Can those guys and James Conner, who's still producing at a high level, good for him, can they get it done? Are they going to be able to put up enough points to win these football games? That's what their season's going to come down to. I think their defense is going to be excellent. It was really, really solid last year. 22.3 games. You're telling me you got to score 23 points a game to win most of your games, and you really didn't get it done a whole lot. I mean, you were middling. So that defense is going to be better this season with this talent brought in, and the offensive players have another year to gel together. This season runs through their offense and Kyler Murray. If they take just even a little step forward on offense and just put up a little bit better, I think that this roster has been built solidly, and it has a chance to make some noise out in the NFC West. That seems like any of the 4 teams could come away with it. Who knows who's going to win that division? I think Arizona's put themselves in a good spot to have a chance at it. And if they don't, I think we'll be seeing a new head coach next year. So that's all I've got for you guys on the Arizona Cardinals off-season video. You guys have Atlanta coming up next, and then Baltimore, and so on and so forth. You will be getting all of these teams out before the start of the NFL season. I'm hoping to have one out every other day for you guys because the grind doesn't stop, and who needs sleep? Am I right? That's all I've got for you guys. We'll see you guys in the next one.